Election season 2013, full swing now throughout the tri-state area. And last night, the race to replace the late Senator Frank Lautenberg, it took center stage in New Jersey. There weren't any surprises in the results. Cory Booker won, but the Democratic nominee, he won going away, more than 30 points. He's going to face Republican Tea Party and former mayor of Magota, Steve Lonegan, who, despite a very questionable tweet and some other PR issues, he also ran away with it last night as well. And for more on yesterday's Senate primaries and what they mean also going forward, we turn to one of, if not the leading political voices in New Jersey, Alfred Doblin, editorial page editor for the Bergen Record and NorthJersey.com. Alfred, before we look ahead, let's just take a quick look back to last night. I know it was no surprise that Cory Booker won, but the margin surprised me. It's not like he beat a bunch of nobodies in the field. He beat Speaker of the House there as it relates to the legislature. He beat 2 sitting congressmen, and he walked away with 60% of the vote. What do you attribute that kind of a spread to? Because he's not universally beloved, Cory Booker, even in Democratic circles, but I couldn't believe the margin when it was all said and done.
Well, the 2 congressmen, who certainly have a lot of experience, but they really don't have a lot of name recognition outside of their districts, and they sort of canceled each other out. They're from the roughly the same middle part of the state. They were unable to find some way of, I think, separating themselves from each other, which made it, I think, harder to then carve your niche to be different than Mayor Booker. Speaker Oliver really didn't run much of a campaign. She didn't spend very much money. A lot of people question why she's running. The Record, we speculated that perhaps she was never running for the Senate, but she may be running for Congress. That if things go Cory Booker's way, perhaps Congressman Payne might want to become Mayor Payne, and perhaps Speaker Oliver may one day want to be Congresswoman Oliver. So Booker had the name recognition. He was able to, just pull it together very quickly.
Is his appeal that you can't turn on a Sunday morning show or a national program and not see Cory Booker with his ubiquitousness, or the part-time superhero status? What do you attribute to his national appeal? Because I know you know this, but for people who don't follow as closely, it's not that he's beloved necessarily throughout Newark across the board, but yet across the state and even nationally here, he's treated like a rock star.
Well, but you have to recognize, like what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. I mean, Booker, wasn't like handed the national stage. He managed to sort of grab it through a combination of events in terms of the way he took on Sharp James in Newark. He's an extraordinarily charismatic man. I think even as his detractors would say, he's just this mass of energy and charisma. He I think gravitates well to the camera. He's articulate, so I think that he's sort of made for the medium that he's existing in. And he's embraced social media like nobody, but well, even better than people like Anthony Weiner, because he's learned how to use social media properly. So I think that helps. Using
it for good, not evil. I also haven't met anybody who doesn't think that knows him that he's much better built for the U.S. Senate than he was for governor. One of the best things that he ever did was decide not to try and go head-to-head against Christie. Forget about whether he could have won or not, because the Senate is more who he is. Management and the micromanagement, not necessarily his strength.
Yeah, I think, I agree with that general assessment. I know he bristles when people say, that he's better for the Senate than he was as a mayor, because then he'll toot all the things, on the horn of Newark of what he's done, and there are things that are certainly accomplishments. But I think his personality is better suited to a legislative body of just 100 people. He will bring to the Senate a certain level of pizzazz that should help him not be just this lost backbencher number 100, in a scale of seniority from 1 to 100. So I think it's a better fit.
We've been going at this for a while. Chris Christie, I can't remember, even when he had Joe Carrillo's, who he's very close with, he never is fully committed him. Disagree with me if you think, Alfred, to really building up Jersey Republicans, whether people are going for statewide office or even congressional races. forget about time, but even money and capital. He hasn't really thrown his operation behind anybody. And then the state gets saddled with somebody like Lonegan, who doesn't really have a fighting chance against Booker. Why do you think Christie really hasn't used all his political capital, at least some of it, for other Republicans in Jersey?
Well, I don't know if it'd be fair to say that, people are getting stuck with Lonegan on the Republican side. No Republicans chose to challenge him other than, a physician who was not very well known, Alida Eck. So Christie, I don't think, can just manufacture the Republican candidates any more than Democrats could manufacture a sellable person to fill the spot when Bob Torricelli was dropping out. That's how Frank Lautenberg came back. I think right now the bench is not very deep. So I think the governor was very nuanced in his comments about Lonegan the other day. He was saying he would have fired the aide, but he was still saying he anticipated supporting the nominee. For him to actually say that about Steve Lonegan, I think is saying a lot about maybe where Christie wants to be perceived as someone who is a bona fide conservative. But I don't think he's been non-supportive of Republicans throughout the state. You're correct, though. He has not put the full heft of his political skills behind other Republicans, but I think he's pragmatic.
And you can always check out Alfred's work here in the Record and at northjersey.com. Alfred, as always, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring in our panel on this. Dominic Carter, of course, political journalist and author. O'Brien Murray, we call him OB, Republican strategist, founder of the New York Meeting, and our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman. We call him a lot of things.
Let's start, his face, though, right?
No. Let's start first, Andrew, with the Democrats. The Booker appeal, we all think he's going to win here. And we probably think he's better suited for the Senate than he would have been even for governor of New Jersey or certainly even as mayor. Can you put your finger on what the appeal is with this guy, why so many people, especially outside of Newark, like him?
Well, he's photogenic, he's telegenic, he's on social media, he's got a disarming personality. His speech last night was a pretty good speech. He's good with the crowd. I mean, he does all of the stuff that we want our politicians to be able to do in terms of how they display their skills publicly. And also this race last night, I know you're asking Alfred about this. I mean, the numbers are basically where they were at the start of this primary going up to the special election. You didn't get a big chance with a lot of attention to change people's minds. So I think people's name recognition and their preconceived notions held through all the way through the primaries, actually on both sides of the ledger.
Dom, at the end of the day, there was some fatigue of Cory Booker for a while, that you couldn't turn on a Sunday show without seeing the guy. Mm-hmm. And you and I both know that within Newark, he's not as beloved as maybe the general public thinks he is. There's people that are mad, and for a variety of reasons, maybe they're too much inside baseball. That all said, it seems, that this guy, rising star. I know some people even said they thought about him maybe as a VP, a running mate here. He'd made a trip to Iowa and whatever. I think it's early too, but maybe we're just too close to it. Maybe this guy's star is so on the rise.
No, Richard, we're jumping the gun now. I mean, the Senate, okay, he made it this far.
Remember if I told you about Obama? He was a state senator in Illinois, and then all of a sudden.
This is true. But Senator Booker, notice I said senator, because this general election is not going to amount to much. I don't even know why they had a primary. I'm being sarcastic. Of course, it's the American way. But it's almost scary about the political process because Cory Booker's success is all personality driven. What has he done?
He saved people from burning buildings. And he shoveled people
like
out of
I said, personality driven.
You call him Batman last night or Robin?
Listen, he can be Batman and Robin. What has he done for the city of Newark? There are people in Newark.
I'm going to play devil's advocate because I've had my own criticism.
Please, what has he done?
He's brought in some money. He's brought in some big scale projects. He's
brought in some money. Erected. Well, most people that go on Oprah can bring in some money. I mean,
you're a little tougher than me.
Okay. I mean, let's go back to what this really is for a second. This is a guy who's got star power, who's a great politician, as Andrew says, okay, and doesn't have high barrier of entry right now as far as competition is concerned. If you look at the Democratic primary, he went against two congressmen, okay, that didn't have the money that he had, didn't have the name ID. The turnout in the urban cities was magnificent, from what I understand, from the urban areas, and that's going to be great for him in the general. And here you have a guy that is running as a Republican who ran before, and knows the state, knows what to do, but is not funded. We've got a situation here where Christie's not embracing him right now. That's a big issue in that state when you look at
Can you explain
Republicans.
something to
That's
me?
not his biggest problem.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
well-
Thank you, Andrew. We all know about the. Please don't even start defending that tweet. You're better than that. All
Well,
right?
wait,
You like
wait,
that-
no, wait.
so-
Booker had his own problems, what he had on his website. This is not about one person. It was an inappropriate
There's
tweet,
a-
but there was also some from Booker, and everybody gave him a free pass on it, and let's not forget about that on his website.
Wait a minute. At the end of the day, the governor is even moving away from
The
this guy.
governor moved away from the Republican nominee in the process the minute that he appointed his guy. He did not embrace anybody in his
You want
primary.
to make a gentleman's
he
bet
didn't go
that
anywhere.
the governor does not remotely go to the map for this guy and help him campaign around the state?
I agree he won't. That's what I'm saying. In other words,
but here's my
the governor
bigger
was
question.
never going. The
Here's
governor.
my bigger question. You have a rock star as a governor of your state here, arguably, if not the standard bearer, one of them for the national party. That should be a message to Republicans that you can win in New Jersey.
Right.
So why can't they get a better quality of candidate? Because I
I'm
don't
gonna
think
tell you,
Booker's unbeatable.
I spoke to numerous people about that race, okay? About either working for certain people that were going to run possibly, going to run if Lautenberg had finished out the term, people that were going to jump in this race.
Why didn't they get
Christie
in?
waved everybody off.
Really?
Part of that process is what Christie wanted for the appointee. He didn't want the race going on here the way it was. He told people, or his people told people, please don't get in, stay away. So the governor kept people away at this point. I heard that from numerous sources.
Very interesting. All right, we jump to a break here. When we come back, we switch gears and talk about New York City. And I got a couple questions. Who's Bill de Blasio, and what exactly is he doing leading the polls here for the New York City mayoralty race here? We're going to get into that with the table right after this.